Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Gab. My name is Lydia Nyagaya, and today, being our first episode, we decided to base our topic depending on the fact that the children are in the house right now and all parents are trying to be proactive in their lives. Now, this is the first time you look at your child and you realize this kid has a problem with learning. This kid cannot calculate simple math. And then you realize that the things that the teachers have been saying about your child might just be true. So on studio today, we have two brilliant ladies. One who is a friend of mine. We go way back. This is Millicent Luande. Millicent is a teacher and also a parent to a child who is dyslexic. Millicent, welcome to the show.
Hi.
We also have Priscilla Munda. Priscilla is a clinical psychologist, also a lecturer at one of the universities in the country. Welcome, Priscilla.
Thank you.
Now, starting with you, Millicent, just tell us something about yourself. Just give us a brief introduction about yourself. Let us know you.
So, I'm a teacher by profession and getting to teach children with different learning difficulties. I got into it way later because first I trained as an ECD teacher. I didn't teach for a long time. It was just a certificate resting at home. So after my daughter was discovered to be having dyslexia, then I started now getting into it. I just started seeing kids differently, getting more passionate about it. Then my current employer gave me the opportunity to start working with them, and that's where I am at.
So the passion actually came when you realized that your child was dyslexic.
For working, the passion for working with
the children,
not children, but now the children with learning difficulties. Yeah.
Oh, so that's when.
Because before they were just all children, they were just there, and I might say I was probably one of those who would sometimes make a comment, a casual comment of why is this child this way, without really knowing what was really happening to them.
Okay.
So I could say that was an eye-opening for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Priscilla, tell us something about yourself, just briefly.
Thank you. My name is Priscilla, as she has said. I'm a clinical psychologist. I got into psychology almost 10 years ago. Yes. My background is a science background, but I found myself into the field of psychology later on.
Okay.
So I am currently a lecturer at one of the universities in Kenya. And then I am also a practicing psychologist.
Okay.
And I'm also just about to finish my PhD in clinical psychology.
Wow. Okay, that's nice. Now, Millicent, you're going to be our Google today by actually defining what learning disorder is. So, what is learning disorder? Or what do we call it, learning difficulty or learning disability? What is learning disorder?
The words can be used interchangeably. Others may prefer using disorder, others difficulties, others disability. But it is a cognitive process which relates to learning. It interferes with the basic learning of language, of reading, writing, maths, as you say. So it is what people may overlook, but it is real. Most of the time, it's overlooked, and we even call them hidden learning disabilities. Yeah.
Because this is not a physical disability.
Exactly.
So it's not easy for one to know that this child actually has a learning by looking at them just like this. Yeah. Because they can be they can be all round, they can be okay in other areas, but when it comes to specific things, like maybe math, that is when you find a child having a problem.
When you start noticing that, there's something on this.
Okay. Now, Priscilla, I believe that there are various types of learning disorder. It's not just one. So, can you take us through these learning disorders, just explaining one by one and making us understand the whole thing?
There are generally about 5 learning disorders, and in the medical profession, And medical profession, I'm talking about when we're looking at mental disorders, we diagnose learning disorders currently as specific learning disorders. Actually, they're called specific learning disorders. In the psychiatry, psychologists, and the doctors have a manual that they use to help with diagnosis. It's called DSM, Diagnostic Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders. So in the last edition, that was DSM-4, the learning disorders was just left there as learning disorders. It was under disorders that affect children in infancy, childhood, and adolescence. But in the latest manual, which is the DSM-5, it classifies the learning disorders under neurodevelopmental disorders. So there are so many other disorders under there, like ADHD, autism. So specific learning disorders is one of them. So under specific learning disorders, we have the most common ones that most people are aware of are three. There is, we've talked about dyslexia, you've talked about, then there is dyscalculia, about maths, and then there is also dysgraphia. Those are the three main ones that people are commonly aware of. Now, maybe just to say a little bit about, for example, when you talk about dyslexia, we are looking at children who are struggling with reading, they are struggling with the fluency. When they are reading, they have a difficulty when they are reading, and then they're also struggling with comprehension, understanding what they are reading. So, in fact, the common language that people used to describe it is that they feel that the letters are jumping off the pages. I think you recently agree with me. Even when you see the graphics about describing what dyslexia is, you see the letters all over the place. So it's very difficult for their brain to process what they are seeing, because the learning disorders are information processing disorders. You should say they're cognitive. So they're in that part of the brain that processes information. So dyslexia, we are talking about the struggling with reading fluency, comprehension, and recall. Then we have dyscalculia. Dyscalculia, these are people who are struggling with figures. They have a problem memorizing figures, they have a problem calculating, they have a problem counting, they have a problem organizing anything around math, and they'll even have a problem telling time. So they can't, anything to do with figures, they have an issue with that. So you may find maybe a 5-year, 60-year-old child, when they are asked to add some simple math, they're taking too long, they're counting on their fingers, they can't remember where they left, so they're really struggling with that. And then thirdly, we have dysgraphia. Dysgraphia are children or people who are struggling with handwriting. They find it very difficult to write. And sometimes we realize that they may have issues even in their motor skills. So writing is a challenge. They're struggling with spelling. They're struggling with writing.
So you want to tell me that handwriting, just a simple handwriting, is a condition?
You haven't seen that.
Because I remember when I was growing up, handwriting was just handwriting. You either train to have good handwritings or not. So you want to tell me a child can have bad handwriting and then we label them as special?
You don't label.
What do you do? Because when you tell me that this child is special because he has a problem with handwriting, I tend to wonder, it is just handwriting. Can they just train? Can they be trained to write, and then this thing of now is a special condition just goes away?
Well, the bad handwriting you're talking about is not what we are talking about.
So what are you talking about? There's a special bad handwriting.
I'm sure Millicent can tell you.
Okay. Millicent, tell us.
And just on what she's saying, the three she's mentioned, they are kind of infused together. Mostly, one child will have the three.
So a child can have multiple learning disorders.
Because dysgraphia is most likely to affect even their. Dyslexia may affect their writing because they can't process what they are seeing. They can't transfer it on paper.
Oh.
But now finding the child with the dysgraphia, the shape of what is written. They'll always be out of shape. One is bigger than the other one. Spacing. When they are writing one word will be here, the next will be there, and one sentence may not be one line may not be enough for one sentence or even one word. So they are just there.
Everything is just mixed up.
They may not even be able to read what they've written themselves.
Okay,
They
so
can read. And
so a
that's
child
why
will write
they tell
something and
teachers-
they don't know what they've written.
Yeah, and that's why they say when a teacher needs to change profession, they can be FBI handwriting analyst because you have to really try and get what they're writing. They'll be omitting some words. They'll be like, if I want to write Lydia, there'll be that small L, then there'll be a big D somewhere, and then you won't be able to figure it out if you are just if you are
you are not trained to
Yeah.
look. Now, Priscilla, when you are mentioning these specific learning disorders or learning disabilities, when you're mentioning these specific LDs, you were almost talking about, you mentioned something to do with ADHD.
Yes.
Now, my understanding of ADHD, a layman understanding of ADHD, is mostly hyperactivity. When a child runs from that end to that end, that corner to that corner, they are on the stairs, they are climbing the wall. Now that, to me, is sugar rush. To you professionals, it's a condition. Just take away the sugar from the child's menu and you are good to go. So tell me how you can identify that this is a special condition and this is sugar rush, or this is ADHD. And is ADHD, as you answer that, is ADHD also under a learning disorder, or it's something specific on its own?
Okay. Thank you for that question. ADHD, let me say clearly, is not a learning disorder. Yeah, but it is a neurodevelopmental disorder. And when I say neurodevelopmental, these are disorders that affect children during the stages that they are in development. So when we'll be talking maybe about the causes, you'll see how this comes in. So from the time a child is conceived to maybe the time they are about 2 years, there are things that could happen to this child that can lead this child to develop some these neurodevelopmental disorders that I'm talking about. So how do you tell, what are some of the things you can look out for, or how do you ensure that, I mean, for sure that you know that this child has ADHD and it's not just a sugar rush? Millicent will agree with me. Children, especially boys, in the ages of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, they're hyperactive naturally. And of course, when they eat something with sugar, they even become more
hyperactive.
Yes, exactly. So this is where we now look at the manual to help us diagnose this child. So when you suspect that your child has a problem, maybe the best advice would be to take them for some assessment. We'll talk about assessment later.
Okay.
But looking at some of the symptoms that we may have to look out for, and of course this is not for anybody, this is what maybe the professionals will now come and use to confirm that this person could be having, this child could be having ADHD. And there's what we call, in the manual, there's what we call the criteria. We have, each disorder has a criteria that a child or a person has to meet before you can diagnose. If they don't meet that criteria by one, they give like very specific things that you need to watch out for.
Okay.
So for ADHD, first, what you're seeing must have been there for at least 6 months.
Okay.
So there's a time.
Continuous.
Yes, 6 months continuously. And it must also be something that affects the daily operations of this person. Now for the child, for example. So, and for a child, what are we looking at? We are talking about, is it affecting their schooling? Is it affecting their play? Because those are the things that children do. So it their social life. So it must affect the day-to-day life of this child. And then the other very important thing, does this child behave, this behavior that you're worried about, is it exhibited in more than one setting?
Okay.
Because if a child is just running around at home, and when they go maybe to school, they're fine.
They're quiet, they're settled.
They can do their work. Then that child has no problem.
Mm-hmm.
They are at home, is a free area. They can eat all the sugar, they can jump on the couches and do everything. That child has no problem. So there must be more than one setting that the child behaves the same. So the teacher must be saying the same story. This child does not sit down in class. This child does not listen. Because those are some of impulsive, yes. So there must be two settings. That is the second criteria. And then the onset, or the first time you're noticing this, must be before this child turns 7. When you're talking about ADHD, if you're looking at something that happened after the 7 years, then we could be talking about something different. So you must have history that happened before this child turns 7 years old. And then we have 2 types of ADHD.
Mm-hmm. So it's not just the sugar rush.
No, we have 2 types. So a child
is overlooked.
Yes. Yeah. So a child could be predominantly inattentive. They're just children who are not attentive. Yeah. So, and here you are looking at they make careless mistakes. They have a problem with attention. They have a problem with listening. You are talking to them and they're in another world. I'm telling you this. Why are you not listening? They're doing something else. They lose things. Children who are constantly losing things. They don't finish tasks. They're given homework, like they've come home from school, you give them homework, you leave them there maybe to go to the kitchen to cook, they will not finish that task. And then they have very poor organizational skills. These are the children, if you go to their room, the things are all over the place.
But this is a child. Why do you need a child to be organized?
No, there's a level.
Okay.
Like for example, you can tell a child that after playing, you tidy up.
Okay.
Yes. But this particular child
will just leave things.
Yeah.
Okay.
They may not be able to do that.
They don't even realize that it's messy.
No.
They don't know that whatever they have done here is. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
To them, those things are just well arranged.
Where they're supposed to be.
Yes.
Okay. And then another type.
And then when you put them, I'm still on the inattentive.
Okay.
The things you look out for. When you now want to put them to do something continuously that makes them think, they're very uneasy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then they're also very forgetful. You give them a task, they will remember. Oh, I forgot.
Okay.
And then they're easily distracted. More than usual. Children have a short attention span, but these ones are more than usual.
Oh, okay.
So that is the inattentive type.
One.
Then you have the other type, which is hyperactive and impulsive.
Now this is the one that is all over the place.
The one people always notice.
Yeah, that's the one that is normally
This is the one I beat. This is the one I beat to settle down.
Yes. So the inattentive one might pass.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I fall under the cracks all the time.
Yes.
Okay.
Nobody may even notice that this child has a problem. You may just say they are lazy, they are careless,
the
they're
gaps
disorganized.
continue to grow.
Yes, thank you.
Oh,
so
okay.
they may even miss the intervention.
Yeah. Sadly.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the hyperactive one, of course, is the one we all know. They are running about. They are restless. They can't sit down even for 2 minutes.
You call from home every time. Your child has done with your child.
Okay. And we think now the teacher is just making everything up. This is now too much.
No, the teachers also sometimes say your child is naughty.
Yeah.
Because they don't
understand what the child is going through.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And then the other thing you may notice with this child, the hyperactive impulsive, when children are playing together, they can't wait their
for their
turn.
turn.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. They want to jump in before their turn. Oh,
They are
okay.
so impatient. Yeah. And then they are not able to play quietly. There's a time where you can just have a child playing there quietly. Then they want the active play where they're just all over the place. They're always on the go. So this is where we are talking about the sugar rush. And then when you force them now to sit in a place quietly, they're always fidgeting. Yeah, so you find them either just, they're always just moving.
Yes.
They're doing something, they can't stay
They
still.
can't settle.
Yeah, and then in class, I'm sure Millicent will be very much aware of that. When you ask a question as a teacher, they blurt out the answer.
They raise their hands up without even thinking
of the answer.
Then give me an answer.
Then they look at you like.
Yeah. So they're Unaware.
They're impulsive. That is where the impulsiveness comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they can't stay seated, and then they're always talking. They talk excessively. So you'll find them. Of course, the children at a certain age are not. Some of them may be talkative, but these ones you may find it a bit too much. And then they like interrupting.
Yes.
So that is the hyperactive impulsive
Okay.
type.
Okay.
So you may find a child leaning towards the inattentive type, another one leaning towards the hyperactive impulsive type. Then you may also find one that has both.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now, how do you deal with one that has both? This is now a mess.
That is a difficult child to deal with.
Yeah.
So maybe Millicent
Millicent.
can tell us how
Millicent can tell
they
us.
handle.
And Millicent, given
So
Mhm.
it's what I can say, like the hyper one.
Mhm.
So you are in class, and most of the time they get on their peers' nerves a lot.
Okay. They're the ones that
Imagine
nani
yes,
nani
exactly.
amefanya nini? Nani amenifanyia hii?
They throw things, they do,
Mhm.
but they are unaware that they are interrupting.
Mhm.
They are unaware of that. So one of the things that you can always do, if there's whether is the either of those
Those
challenges,
ADHDs.
yes. You make them stand responsible. Like I'm a teacher, I already know that this child is having this difficulty or this challenge.
Mhm.
So instead of waiting for that child to just get up and go do something, which will make me
Interfere.
now ground the child
Mhm.
for something that he has no control over.
Mhm.
So I keep on keeping watch timing that, okay, now I should give so and so a break. Lydia, can you go and run for me the ball?
Oh, you make
Lydia,
them
can you-
active.
Yeah, they stand up responsibly.
Okay.
So
okay.
they have a reason.
They have a reason to get up to
get
do
up.
something.
Yeah, so it gives them a break.
Oh, okay. So that you call that a break.
It's a break.
So when a child is moving all over the place.
So whether he was moving over the place or his mind has just gone somewhere else, once you mention the name, sending them somewhere or giving them a task to do, they'll be back in the present.
Okay.
They'll now refocus again.
Oh, okay.
You can also just walk around the classroom, just maybe tapping them on the shoulder, just without drawing attention to them. Just find a way of connecting with them, just bringing them back.
Okay.
But you don't draw attention to them. And so you find when you do that, they're always brought back to that.
Okay.
And the doctors, when sometimes most of the recommendations they also give us and they give the parents diet. There are some diet which are recommended.
Sugar?
to them.
No soda.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely no soda.
Absolutely no sugary foods.
Mhm.
So you try and maintain the diet at very low sugar foods, like whole foods. Yeah. So that helps with the
Sodas,
hyperactivity.
juices, and
Yes.
all that.
Yeah.
So now, I remember when we were growing up, a normal African traditional setup. When a child has failed or has underperformed, let's say
I
that.
remember that.
When a child has underperformed,
Yeah.
the father. Okay, I think we grew up in the same era.
Yeah.
So the father will call the child, and the first thing will be like, "So you have underperformed. You are as thick as your mother."
Mm.
The day that the child has overperformed or is excellent in everything, you are as bright as your father. In Luo, this will be like Ifoka Meru. Irieka Uweru. So now, my question is, can a parent pass down a learning disability to an offspring?